Hi everyone, welcome to Mitchell's Homestead. Today I am making banana muffins. You can see here I'm peeling my bananas and adding them to my stand mixer. I like to use a more ripe banana because they bake up on the sweeter side. I am doubling this recipe, but it calls for 1 cup of sugar and 3 bananas. Again, I'm doubling this recipe so the ingredients you see here will be more than what's called for. Now, I like to use the whisk attachment on my stand mixer to get the bananas and sugar incorporated, but if you don't have a stand mixer, you can just use a bowl with a fork to mash them, or even a potato masher works really well. As we let our bananas and sugar mix together, you're going to need to get 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Next step is to add our egg. The recipe calls for 1, I'm using 2 again because I'm doubling it. Now I do crack my egg into a separate bowl before I add it to my mixture, and that's in case we happen to have a rotten or a funky egg. Usually our chickens will lay eggs in some funny places and you can never be too sure. Once we get our eggs into the mixer, we're going to let that incorporate together. You can use a low speed to do that. As those are mixing, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, as well as grease a muffin or a loaf pan. I like to use a muffin pan because it's easy for my kids to just grab and go, or I can pop them in their lunchbox. Once the eggs are incorporated, we're going to slowly add in the butter. Now, if your butter is hot, pouring it in slowly will make a difference because you don't want the egg to react with the hot temperature. Next, we're going to add in a teaspoon of salt directly into the mixer, and we will also add a teaspoon of baking soda. Now we're going to add in our flour. As a reminder, I doubled this recipe, so you'll see me adding more, but it calls for 1 cup of flour that you'll be adding. Once we get that in there, you want to have that mix on low again until the flour is incorporated. You can also add vanilla before the flour if that's something that you want to put in. In this case, I skipped that part, but it doesn't matter either way. I've got my greased muffin pan here. It's actually a mini muffin pan, and you can see that the mixture is done. At this point is when you would want to add any type of crushed nuts or chocolate chips. Even a dried fruit like a raisin would be great in these, but you want to put that in before you distribute into your muffin tin or your loaf pan. We're going to put those into the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then they are done. Now you can just pop them out like this or take them out one by one, whichever suits you. And I'll have you know that these muffins were gone in my house in almost 2 days.